So when I was approached to address you lovely people, I was given the theme. And now sitting here in the audience, I understand the wisdom behind how so many wise things are falling within the theme. The speakers predecessing and the speakers are coming around that. But when I was asked what title to give to what I wish to talk about, I reverted to my home, my soul, which is theater, and it went back to this play. So allow me to begin with introducing to you about Samuel Beckett, who wrote this very famous play once called Waiting for Godot. I spell it Godot, and when I must confess, not too young, when I realized it's not Godot, it's Godot. And in this story, there are two people who are waiting for this person called Godot. They wait, and they wait, and they wait, and Godot never comes. Now, the tragedy of the play that Beckett wrote was not the fact that Godot doesn't come, but the fact that while these two people were waiting for Godot, they did absolutely nothing. Now, sometimes, and don't get me wrong, I feel, in fact, if you wish, you may get me wrong, but you'll see that we may be right. And that's the doubt I'm looking for. I feel this script could be about us in Pakistan. And I'm not saying because, like an average Pakistani, Godot was never on time, but that we like to wait as well. We really, really like to wait. We wait for the big things. We wait for change. We wait for a leader. We wait for a savior. We wait for someone larger than life, someone purer. It's become, well, preferably someone good looking as well, because, we are vain as a nation. But it seems to have become one of our national postures, waiting. Now, I don't think that it is predominantly because coming from laziness, but I think it may have something come from inheritance. And hear me out. I believe that stories shape our minds. I believe very firmly that stories influence the way we look at things, aptitudes, ideas, and hence action and behavior. And let's take a look at our stories that we've inherited. This soil, genetically where we're coming from, our stories teach us what? Intervention. A Devta will come, an Avatar will appear, a Masiha will arrive, Mahdi will come, someone external will come, and history and perhaps future will bend. And let's look at our colonial past as well, which has not done us good in our stories and our shaping our minds. Our colonial past has trained generations of us that authority and decision lies externally, not internally. And therefore, obedience became our way of survival. And any initiative was either labeled as ghadar or inqalab, and therefore dangerous. Hang those in the jail road of Lahore. And when you have agency punished long enough, what happens to us is waiting starts to appear smart and sensible and secure. Let's take one quick look at the heroes that are given to us as well. Oh man, our heroes are perfect, and I mean it, pristine. They're the finished product. No flaws, no doubt, no confusion, and definitely no cigarettes. Because I think now we all, at least majority of us, can have an agreement that smoking is a bad habit, correct? Yet our Qaid-e-Azam smoked because he was human. But we were denied that opportunity to see him that way. For us, him and his 14 points turned into a syllabus for us to rote learn for an exam. We couldn't see our own Qaid as a human being. And when heroes become unreal, responsibilities start appearing unreal as well. Now, please don't get me wrong. Charismatic leaders are important. Charismatic leaders, they will give you a leadership of such an impetus that will drive you, that will motivate you, that will push you. They will build institutions, and sometimes quite literally. But history teaches us something very uncomfortable. Charisma will open the door, but it is character that decides what happens next. Charismatic leaders will ignite that spark, but it is us, ordinary people, doing everyday ordinary things in light of that spark that will keep the flame alive. So what's happened to us? We put our heroes on such a high pedestal that we forget about the responsibilities that lie with us below. Now, I'm not trying to say that these people are bad. I'm not trying to bring shame. On the contrary, I'm trying to realize their humanity. I'm appealing for you to see that way as well. Because all heroes and me coming from the story world, can tell you this, for you who have heard the stories as well. All good heroes will have two battles. One, the external, which we can see and we celebrate, against injustice, inequality. But there's the other battle, which we don't see, the internal one, that they fight against themselves, their egos, their anger, their doubt, that which makes them more human, that which helps us connect with them and liberate us. That is kept away from us. There has been a few researches which I think will help me and help you see little things in terms of betterment. There's a psychiatrist, Martin Seligman, who conducted this research about helplessness. And in that research, what he does is very interesting. He puts certain dogs in a place where shock was unavoidable. It's harsh, but it's true. And then he takes a portion of that population and puts them in a place where escape is possible. And what do many of the dogs do? Nothing. And he sees in this, that's not because they were weak or anything. It's because they realized their action does not have any consequences and therefore doesn't matter. He sees, and we conclude, what he calls learned helplessness. That beings, when they think that their control is external from them, will do nothing, no action, even when freedom is available to them. They won't move. And that kind of learned helplessness can apply to societies as well. Faiz Ahmed Faiz saw the same thing as well, not in a lab, but in the streets. And when he called the common man as Galiyon ke awara bekar kutte. Now he was looking at them as abused, manipulated, taught their place. He wasn't being offensive to the common man. On the contrary, he's just commenting upon how the system was using them and guiding them and explaining what they're doing to them. And he didn't end it on condemnation, by the way. He ended on awakening. Koi inki soi hui dum hila de. If you think about it, it all comes back as an onus to ourselves. If I get her name right, Dr. Kristen Ness did an experiment in which she was exploring something which could benefit us right now in this context. She started exploring about self-esteem, whereby, and in a very brief way, she set up a few people for failure. Gave a few questions to two groups of people. The first questions, very easy for some of the average students. First questions, bound to be wrong for the good ones, and then carry on normal ones. And what she discovered was that self-esteem would go down with failure. And we can relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of students here can relate to that as well. And what happens with that is people would either be defensive or completely avoidant. So she turned to Buddhist philosophy, in which compassion is not considered indulgence or weakness. It's considered strength. Now, I know there may not be any Buddhists in the house right now, but this soil knows Buddha. And the wisdom of this soil belongs to all of us. And what they realized was that self-compassion made people take more responsibilities and not less. So what happens, you realize that harsh self-judgment does not create heroes. It creates paralysis. Now, I learned this lesson not from a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but from my then 8-year-old daughter. When she came up to me and asked me a question which froze me, she said, "Why don't you love yourself?" It took me back 20 years when I was sitting in front of my self-appointed mentor, Major General Kamal Rabbani, as a young man, and he dropped this bomb on me. He asked me that question, "Omair, what is love?" And he rescued me by giving me the answer himself. He said, "Omair, love is accepting someone fully, knowing their flaws." And here I was, in front of my 88-year-old daughter, not able to give myself what I'm willing to give to others. In that moment, I started accepting wholeheartedly my flaws. And you know, when I did that, I started embracing my virtues as well. Because in that moment, I realized I do not need to be extraordinary to make my contributions. I was good enough, because the world is not waiting for you to be flawless. The world is waiting for you to be present. So you do not need to be with impressive backgrounds. You do not need to have wonderful confidence and style. What you need to be is self-aware. Accept yourself. You need to be reflective and be able to act even when you're incomplete. Now, I'm not asking for a big call of action today, but if I were, I would say, look at your hero and humanize that hero. Find that flaw and look at the contributions they were making, because they were making contributions not because they were flawless, they were making contributions in spite of their flaws. I would like to ask you to accept yourself unapologetically. Point your flaw out. Embrace it. Find that strength of yours. Hug it. And let the both combine guide you where you're supposed to go. I would like to ask you to look at where you are in terms of time and space. Look at what contributions you've already made and ask yourself, what else can I do here and now? कोई इनको एहसास ज़िल्लत दिला दे, कोई इनकी सोई हुई दुम हिला दे, कोई, तुम हो कोई, तुम. Godot never comes. But life begins the day we stop waiting. Thank you.